Today we're going to be going over the top 5 reptiles that are not ball pythons from the Tinley Park NARBC show of 2025. And as we're going through this, similar to our top 5 ball pythons we picked, I, again, do not know how to count. So there's going to be a lot of honorable mention. There might be some co-numbers from the same breeder or different breeders. The only real rules I have are that you shouldn't take it seriously because it's just for fun. And I won't have the same breeder in the top 5 multiple times. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it with our first pick. At number 5, from Apex Constrictors, would actually be a pair of boas. Starting off first with this IMG Motley Arabesque Possible Het VPI T+. I am not particularly good with my boa genetics, so if I said anything wrong, don't kill me. But I am pretty good at what I see, and this is a really cool, almost all black snake with an incredible iridescence to it that just has ever so slight little kisses of grayish white down the spine of the animal. But what really kills me is the absolute iridescence that you can clearly see here. There is an obvious rainbow effect as it's under the lighting. Getting an all black snake is really cool, right? But you do not have very much contrast outside of just being a pitch black animal. To capture iridescence, now that's just incredibly special. And right next to it would be its partner in crime, this Pastel Dream IMG Arabesque, also Possible Het VPI T+. One thing I do know about boa constrictors is what IMG does, and that's just create this insane granulated blowing up pattern. I'm a really big fan of Halloween seasons, and this animal just kind of really reminds me of something Halloween-like. There's a lot of awesome contrast here, and quite frankly, if you're looking down on it, this also has an iridescence, the rainbowy type sheen near the bottom of the snake here on its side. Boas are incredible animals that have such amazing pattern and morphs to them that I really think go underrated. At number 4, from Rainforest Junkie, would be these Hypo Redfoot Tortoises. Tortoises are another incredible animal that I absolutely love. I mean, I grew up in the age where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the thing. So maybe I'm a little biased and whatnot. We'll be showing off my other first love of the exotic pet world a little bit later in our honorable mentions, but my first reptile that I ever loved were turtles. Now, turtles and tortoises are effectively the same thing, except turtles are kind of known to be in the water, whereas tortoises are not. You don't need to know how to keep an aquatic animal to keep them. Aquatics are so awesome. I love ocean life. It might even be some of my favorite life on Earth, but it is an extra layer of work to keep it going, to keep it right. But with tortoises, you don't have to worry about all that. Most tortoises are pretty easy to care for, and most of them have a nearly all, or if not completely all, vegetarian diet. So feeding them is rather easy and inexpensive, quite frankly. And they're incredibly hardy animals. But of course, you do need to know what tortoise you're getting into, because some tortoises can become bulldozers and become about the size of one too. There are plenty of tortoises that remain a very manageable size, including the redfoot, or what we keep here, the Herman's tortoises, which we absolutely love. But these hypos themselves are so awesome and cool. It really reminds you of what it does in ball pythons. It really does create that same look, that frosty type look to their skin, and just brightens them up in such a beautiful and incredible way. I can't get over how much expression and how much beauty these animals had with their splashes of pastel yellow and this bright, vibrant orange on them. And the skin underlying gives off a very lavender type look to it as well. These Hypo Redfoots were such a joy to see, and they really are perfect examples of why tortoises are such incredible animals to keep. At number 3, from both Goodies Exotics and 402 Exotics, would be these Chihuahua Cresty hybrids. So controversy alert, some people do not care for hybrids, but while I do not keep hybrids and don't really have any plans to do any, I do find them absolutely fascinating, and also they are sometimes naturally occurring in the wild. Chihuahuas and Cresties are from relatively the same area, so it's definitely not unheard of that this could be a reoccurring species. They are also able to reproduce. Some hybrids cannot reproduce, they're completely sterile, but these animals are really cool and incredible. They have the eyelashes of the Cresty. They have lost that crest, which is the case when you get a lot of crested geckos that have new morphs. They don't have a crest as is, but I really do love the crisp orange and that slight tiger striping that's making its presence known on this animal as well. The larger one is from Goodies Exotics. They actually got theirs from 402 Exotics, and they had babies on their table as well. You can see there's some variations in these in terms of pattern and slight color. You can see here that this one has even more more of that crazy, cool, chaotic tiger striping that I was talking about. A few other fun facts: they seem to have the disposition of a crested gecko, only a little bit more relaxed and chill. They don't have a mean demeanor in any way, shape, or form. They are able to regrow their tails unlike a crested gecko. And even though they are able to reproduce themselves, it seems that only males are hatching at this time. So very interesting dynamic there. While hybrids are not for everyone, it is still an incredibly cool animal that has been created here and definitely worthy of attention. At number 2 from Juggernaut Reptiles would be this super druid blood python. Blood pythons are so awesome and incredible. They can get to impressive sizes, but how I know them as is just being incredibly thick-bodied snakes. And I think the reason I love them is because look at that head. It is very bladed, almost like an arrowhead. Their bodies are incredibly big, fat, and thick. They kind of remind me of what is probably my favorite snake, and that would be the gaboon viper or the rhino vipers. They have that very similar build. They have a very similar kind of head pattern. They just don't have the crazy ornaments on top of their head that they often have, nor do they have that nutty pattern that they do, but they do remind me quite a bit of them, so maybe that's why I'm kind of partial to them. This is one that if I ever get the room, I can see myself maybe seeing a future where I get into this. I think that they get a bit of a bad reputation, which honestly I've never seen one earn, not personally anyways, and I've interacted with a decent amount of them. I don't know where that's coming from. I was actually told that maybe people are keeping them a little bit warmer than they should, which might make them a little bit more temperamental. Take that as you will. I am not the expert in blood pythons for sure, but I do love looking at them. What I really love about this morph here is that it really does whitewash quite a bit of the animal, but then just keeps this dark striping going down the back that starts to fade as it gets down, but still remains to speckle throughout the entire animal. I love the marbling type effect that's going down this. It's so incredible how it has this pretty consistent dark pattern, almost like chains going down it, with holes throughout the entire thing that starts to fade more and more as it gets down towards the bottom. There's so much beauty and contrast to be had here. And what's so amazing about this is that it's somewhat similar to how Blue-Eyed Lucy's work, but still completely different at the same time. This is just one copy of the Druid, and it definitely looks cool as heck. But outside of the black kind of splotches that are on the side, maybe being moved up towards the top, this is a very different animal. What I also love about blood pythons is that they change as they age, like many animals do, but they seem to glow up. There's nothing about them that seems to diminish. They seem to get better. I think that these blood pythons from Juggernaut Reptiles are absolutely outstanding, and it was a little difficult not to give them number 1, quite frankly. On to our honorable mentions. First up from CD Constrictors would be these Ambilib Panther Chameleons. CD Constrictors has been in our top 5 many times in the past, but for ball pythons. But for the first time at Tinley, they brought a pet project of theirs. Chameleons are about one of the most colorful animals on the planet Earth. They really remind me of some of this absolutely crazy, insane sea life that you see. They come in a variety of different awesome colors, but these greens, these purples, these purpley blues, I don't really think there's many reptiles that can capture these colors. It literally looks like a watercolor painting in some ways, especially that stroke of aqua blue going through the side of the animal here. Just an absolutely beautiful, colorful animal, and I hope to see more and more of this from CD Constrictors, and I'm sure I will, considering that by the early VIP days end, I believe he had completely sold out of chameleons. From Edgewood Dart Frogs would be these amazing dart frogs. I alluded to my first love of an exotic type animal, and it would have been frogs. As a little kid in the late 80s and early 90s, I would capture bullfrogs from around here and leopard frogs and whatnot, and I would love to interact with these animals. They are so awesome, cool, and these colors on these animals are just so absolutely out of this world. This one here just reminds me of Halloween, and they have this sheen to them, right? They just shine. Obviously, they're a little wet. You know, in general, you should probably not be in the practice of holding and handling any amphibian with your bare hands, because they do drink through their skin, but that is perfectly fine because this is definitely an eye candy animal, making a really cool bioactive terrarium, and just watching these absolute splashes of beautiful paint jumping around in there is a dream of mine to one day do again. Next up from Snakeful Grace would be this just so awesome and beautiful toffee belly. Nothing absolutely out of this world or crazy in terms of genetics, but I really do appreciate how awesome this animal is, and it really just goes to show you why hognoses have become so popular. The belly patterns on these animals, the fact that they think that they are both rattlesnake snakes and cobras at the same time. I absolutely love everything about hognoses, and Snakeful Grace is one of the absolute best breeders of hognoses and brings always quality animals and a love for this species and desire to teach people about this species as well. People like them and animals like this are why hognoses are gaining such popularity so quickly, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And for our last honorable mentions would be a couple of them here, with both animals being at Unlimited Exotic Pets table, although I believe these black dragons were actually brought to the show by Mike's Monitors. Anything jet black is just so cool and incredible, and these animals have such a unique personality to them. They're always moving around, very, very active animals. Definitely what I would not call a beginner reptile by any means, but they are a cool one and one to definitely aspire to keep. There's so much beauty and expression in how these animals behave. And what was brought from Unlimited Exotic Pets would be this Calotes Pethiagodai. I think that's how you say it. I actually am unashamed to tell you that I attempted to find pronunciation guides for that last one and failed. But they are so incredibly beautiful. I love the emerald green colors here with these little spots of white moving throughout it. And again, such an incredibly active and amazing, alert animal that just shows you how intelligent it is. You can definitely see the mind behind what it's looking at, how it's observing the world. It's more interested in being an interactive type animal. Now, I don't know about the care of this animal, if they're very handleable or not. They definitely look absolutely beautiful and interested in the world and how they interact with it. Also, off topic, but if we were making a top 5 booths, they would have won. This is insanely cool. It is so beautiful, and they made it themselves. I plan to use this footage in a marketing video in the future. It's so darn good. At number 1 from Intrinsically Ectothermic would be this Calotes. And no, I did not just summon a demon. What I in fact did summon was this absolutely beautiful animal. It looks somewhat similar to our last one. However, instead of the white dots on the side, you get this tiger striping moving down throughout. And what's so cool about this is that this animal changes to this color when it's interested or maybe even a little bit more agitated. Its normal coloration is just more of a straight emerald type green. It's so bright that I struggled to get footage of it that didn't look like it was glowing, quite frankly. It is so unbelievably bright and beautiful green, and the awesome little crest on the top of it is just so incredible. And what absolutely stuns me is the fact that its head is mostly all orange there, and the fact that it goes down through the first part of its back. But look at its eye. It keeps a sliver of that green right underneath of it, just to kind of create this exotic type look. Same thing on the cheeks. Really awesome that nature finds a way to evolve in such an incredible way that's so beautiful. In nature, looking at something like this might tell you that something that's venomous or something that's dangerous. It's definitely conveying some sort of emotion that it wants you to leave it alone or something like that. But it is so beautiful. There's so many animals out there that's a shame that they're agitated or slightly stressed out that they look this way. In this case, maybe this one's not quite so mad. It's obviously just a little irritated. You know what? Honestly, I didn't even catch this big, deep black mark on it down here too. The other side seems to have it as well too. I just didn't capture it. It's just such cool contrast this animal has. I absolutely fell in love with it. Again, similar to our last one, it's just crazy inquisitive. The gills underneath, and it's just really cool spiky spine. I love everything about it, just the way it carries itself. It just looks like a very proud and beautiful, majestic animal. And it certainly deserves to be a proud animal because it is absolutely gorgeous. And that is it for our top 5 and honorable mentions. What other animals other than ball pythons did you see at the show that you absolutely loved that you would also put in this list? Let us know in the comments below. And if you wanted to check out the entire Tinley Park NARBC walkthrough, you can actually do that right here.